Hi, I'm Badu from freefincal, and let's talk about the question that I had asked yesterday or the day before, I guess. What would you do if you were offered a choice between 2 crores in hand, or a lump sum payout of 2 crores in hand, or 1 lakh a month pension for life for you, and then after your lifetime for your spouse? Which would you choose? Which is better? So I had written about this in today's article. I had conducted 3 polls on this in Asan Ideas of Wealth, and in today's article, I talked about this case scenario with an example of someone called Arjun. So, a quick results of the 3 polls. So, when the first question was asked, 537 members decided to choose for the 2 crores payout, and 210 members opted for the 1 lakh a month pension. That's still a big number. And I had asked in a second poll, those who had uh, clicked on the 2 crore option, that they will choose the 2 crore option, how many thought they chose that option because they will get better returns, and that's why they chose that option. And 165 members thought they would get better returns, and 41 mentioned that they had other reasons. And inflation was a significant concern. They said the inflation in that 1 lakh, inflation was not accounted for in the 1 lakh a month pension. Then I started another poll and said, suppose if the person who is, or the entity who is giving you the choice is LIC, then what would you do? Would you shift from the 2 crore payout to 1 lakh a month for life for you and your spouse? And 28 people switched from the 2 crore option to the monthly pension, but the 2 crore option was still popular. 147 members still said they will take the 2 crore option. Of course, it's not a very excuse me. It's not a very scientific way to conduct a poll. The representation was different and so on, but the trends are clear. So there is a good number of people who like that idea of monthly pension, and there's a good number of people who chose the 2 crore option primarily because they thought that they are capable of getting higher returns. Now, again, if you have not made a choice on this, you can enter your choice below. You can enter your reasoning why you would do that, and then come back and watch this video, because for the rest of the video I'm going to talk about why and how to analyze this option. So this is not a math problem per se. Now the problem is that when people see numbers, they automatically start computing and calculating and making comparison. And especially if I ask a question, because of my reputation, people assume that I require or I expect mathematical answers and start computing, and that's my burden to bear. This is not a math problem. This is a risk problem initially, or at the first level. So when it comes to finance, the first thing is you should know when to use math and when not to use math. And this is in the first step, or the first filter. It's got nothing to do with math at all. You should not be comparing returns. You should be comparing risk. And if someone says, I will give you either 2 crores or 1 lakh a month for life for you and spouse, immediately, instinctively, taking the 2 crores makes a lot of sense, because the person who promises that 1 lakh per month pension may default, may run into trouble, and they may no longer be able to offer you that 1 lakh a month pension, and all that is gone. And then again, we will talk about, there's another risk of not living long. We will talk about that later. So that's the first risk, the risk of the person who is giving you this option not honoring it, or not being unable to honor it for some reason. That is a risk of default. So the two risks are not comparable, right? The 1 lakh per month risk as 1 lakh per month option has got a higher risk, and therefore that should not be opted for straight away. That should be the first line of attack, and not the returns, and not claiming I can do better, I can do, this is poor return, and so on. That logic is wrong. That logic should be at a much later level. So once that is done, now if we make LIC as the proposer of the two options, then the government is not going to let LIC fail, just as the LIC is not going to let the government fail. Uh, um, Therefore, the risk of default becomes practically zero when LIC becomes the proposer. Then the risks between the two options become more or less comparable. In fact, once LIC becomes the pension provider, the risk of a person receiving the 2 crores then becomes higher, because that person could be subject to online fraud, then the person could lose money by getting greedy, the person can make bad investment choices, can get emotional about the 2 lakhs or 2 crores and so on. So there are associated risks which most people don't consider. They are just confident that they will do better, and that is a wrong method to look at it. And even if you are going to compare returns, we still have to compare the same kind of returns. For example, if you take the 2 crores and have a 6% pension on it, that's like 12 lakhs a year or 1 lakh a month. And that's the reason why I chose 2 crores versus 1 lakh a month. So it's like, so that the pension plan, that pension 1 lakh a month is basically like a 6% return on a 2 crore investment. So we should be comparing returns, and we will do that. So also, if I just ignore the time value of money and do a very simple calculation, 200 crores divided by 1 lakh is 200 months. So for this 1 lakh a month payout to make sense to me, I and my spouse should receive 1 lakh a month for at least 17 years, because that's the amount of months. 200 is approximately 16 and point something for so on. So for 200 months or almost 17 years, I must be able to receive this pension. Then only this makes some sense. If for example, let's say I talked about Arjun as a case study. Arjun and his wife have the same age. Then there is a chance that the wife may die before him, or the spouse may die before the person who gets the pension. In that case, what happens is, after the person dies, then the 2 crores is completely lost. No, the nominees will not be able to get that money. So there is that problem also. And also, if the person who is getting the pension is not married, and after a couple of months after receiving the pension dies, then the nominee will get nothing. So there is that problem with the payout option as well, which has to be considered. Will you be in a position to receive that many, at least minimum 17 months of payout? To even compare the two is something that you have to consider. Even then, many people will not like the idea of 2 crores being lost forever, and may not choose that, which is alright, which is reasonable. So there are two ways to look at it. If you get the 1 lakh per month pension, then you can create an income floating. I had talked about creating an ideal retirement plan by ensuring that your pension in your retirement is equal to the current expenses. You take care of inflation with a smaller corpus, but you guarantee current expenses, or the expenses in the first year of retirement, to be equal to the pension, and that's your income floating. There's a video on this, you can have a look at it. Therefore, this 1 lakh per month could be that income floating, and then you can argue, I can take care of inflation, but the corpus required for that is lower, the investment required is lower. That's a good argument, and there's no doubt about that. There's another way to argue. You can say that I can take the 2 crores and I will assume my initial annual expense is 12 lakhs or 1 lakh a month. Inflation is 8%, and I will put it in some investment which is giving me close to 6%, and the post-tax return at 30% slab is just 4.2%. Even then, that 2 crores will last me for 13 years, almost 13 years. Then that means for the first 10 years of my retirement at least, I don't have to touch my other corpus. That corpus can grow. So this option gives you lower investment, because this takes care of part of the corpus, and that the remaining corpus can grow untouched for a significant amount of time, and therefore this option gives you extra, it lowers the investment as well as it gives you extra time, whereas the 1 lakh per month only lowered the investment amount. So in that sense, the 2 crore makes a lot of sense. However, we should not get overconfident about it, because we should compare only returns and returns. And so the pension is giving you, please recognize, the pension plan is giving you 6% return for lifetime. You can live for 30 years and still it will give you that 6% return. Try and generate 6% return even pre-tax for 30 years. It's extremely difficult because over that time the returns will come down. There is always something called reinvestment risk, because when you take a corpus after it matures and put it back in, the return will be lower. Then you have to compensate for the 6% to get the 6% year on year return. You may have to take some kind of market risk, some kind of additional risk, and so on. So it is not an easy joke just to even to create 6% return year on year and match the return given by the annuity. Whereas I see so many people being overconfident, saying they will do this and that and this and that. That is wrong. That kind of approach should be, I mean, that's just probably age, but well, it's not so simple. So I think investors are making extreme decisions. Either they say I can invest in stocks, I can do day trading with that 2 crores and make a lot more money, or they say no, LIC is giving 1 lakh, no, it's guaranteed pension, no, it's safe, no, I mental peace is more important. So the extreme choices are bad. I think you should dig deeper and analyze the choices a little more professionally without emotions before making a decision. So like I said, we should not be so sure of earning more than 2 crores. 6% for life is a very, very good deal, and beating that on our own is kind of hard. People will say, oh, that's so easy, I can do this, I can do that. When you get older, you tend to be cynical about such things. So every option has got risks. When you take the 2 crores in hand and try to beat even that 6% return, there are risks. And there is risks, you may be greedy and take the wrong decision. When you take the 1 lakh per month payout, there is also risk. You mean you won't get that money back. You have to arrange for inflation separately and so on. So risk is everywhere. It's a question of which risk is suitable for your situation, which risk is acceptable for your situation, and which risk has a reasonable chance of being surmountable, at least overcome or maybe even managed. So those are the choices you should make between these two before you make a decision. So that's what I wanted to say. I've run out of slides. I didn't realize that. That's what I wanted to say in this video. I hope you had a good Deepavali, whatever, and everything was all right. So I'll catch you again in another video, and we will talk more about passive income and so on. Diwali is a good time to make financial resolutions. We'll talk about that in another video.